Welcome back to Project 1918. Things are starting to get a little unhinged as we dig deeper in the large and small mechanics of our machines. They managed to get a handle back on things, though, just in time to be further enlightened by another veteran team member and our curator.
Okay, Rick, what have we got here today?
We have the rear differential for the Nash Quad. The purpose of it is the wheels on the vehicle. If you picture a vehicle turning, the inside wheel is traveling less of a distance than the outside wheel, so the differential allows for that. Okay, I won't get into all complications of how it works right now until I got to look hard. So what I'm doing right now is taking it apart, and we'll see what kind of conditions it's out. So bear with me, and I'll be splitting the casing in a minute, and we'll take a look inside.
At first glance, what do we think, Rick?
Yeah, looks good. A little bit of wear, but nothing untoward. So now we'll take it apart and give it a good cleaning, and it's nice. We're finding a lot of this mechanical stuff's in good condition for the age of the vehicle, so that's nice. Because you would think a lot of the bearings would be shot and stuff like that, but they're in good shape, and we don't have to worry about replacing them. So these are bearing caps to hold these bearings in place, and make sure they go back in exactly the same place that they came out of. I'm having to mark them, so you can see there with I've marked them with the engraver, and I'll mark the same on the casting here, and that way they go back exactly where they came out, no mistake.
How did it clean up, Rick?
Cleaned up good, buddy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, Rick, I was just noticing, you got the wire here on the bolts. Can you just tell me about that?
Okay, so the wire is fed through the bolt heads, so that there's no way that these bolts can come undone, back themselves out.
And you
nowadays, they still use wire. A lot of safety wires used a lot still in aircraft, especially light aircraft, to wire fasteners so they won't come undone. Automotive, you don't see it very much anymore because they use torque and they use nylock nuts and stuff like that in place of it. But it is still used in aircraft.
Truck. So I showed you these the last time. These were replicated by Ken, our fabricator. And then he just did the last ones here. These bolts, we were missing some of these. So I gave him a sample. And what happened is new modern bolts, the bolt heads generally are not as thick as this. So what this is actually, this is a nut that he took, that he threaded onto a bolt. The head used to be here. And then he put a weld on the other side of it and rounded it over to replicate this type of bolt. So we have some replicated hardware to attach the armor plate back to the tank. We're moving along with just taking a couple of accessories off the tank. So we're going to start taking these armored wings off, we call them.
Why are we taking them off?
So the plan here is to get at the engine. The other engine for the Nash Quad is out. It's on the rebuild this week. It's starting to be rebuilt. So part of concurrent activity here, while we're working on the rest of the tank, we get the engine out to the mechanic and he can spend his time working on the engine. And it turns out that our mechanic for the engines, this is his downtime right now. So he has lots of time to help us out with these engines. So in order to get at the engine and the transmission and the other bits inside, the armor plates have to come off. There's a radiator that's going to come out. There's a fuel tank that's going to come out, and then now we have access to get at the engine and haul it out. turn, so probably going to be a bolt with a washer on this one, and this will be a bolt with a washer tacked to it that'll, like a little twist lock to lock that down. That's your access for your radiator cap, which should be 108 years old. Oh, maybe, but it's pretty authentic. And there you go. Yeah. Oh wow, you can see the, I guess, tubes you can call them. Can you get it? For the actual radiator.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I know the size because I checked with a tap. And
You maybe need to get your brother to show you how to use that tap properly?
and that's a die.
That's a die.
Tap's gone that way.
Or die.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Listen.
I'm dyslexic, all right?
Head back and
One of my disabilities.
head back in there. There's a forklift back there somewhere.
Jasper, that was a great question. This little notch here lines up with this little added piece of metal here, right? And because, well, modern day bolts would have a hex head like that. Because this is just a stud, it keeps it from turning. So you place it in, it locks it in place so you don't have to back wrench it. So then you can tighten your nut down on the other side, and in she goes.
We'll catch turning the top of the thread, right?
Yeah.
Anyways.
This is fuel. This is fuel cap. And this appears to be brass. And then, oof, not very pretty at all. If you look down inside, you can see
You're expecting pristine
the rust is sort of
everywhere?
like sand.
How do you restore a rusted out interior fuel tank?
So the last time I was looking into one of these, what they do is, this is a steel tank. So if you really wanted to restore this original steel tank, you'd remove it, and then what they do is they fill it with a solution, and then put a whole pile of nuts and bolts in it, and you put it in the back of your truck, lock it in place, and drive it around for a couple of weeks. Flip it, drive it around for a couple of weeks.
Are you serious?
Very serious. That's the extent they go to clean the rust and corrosion of the inside.
And that just knocks all the rust off.
Yeah, with a solution. The only other thing you do then is if you want to retain the function of the original tanks, there's a solution that you pour in it, and you wash it all around. It's the consistency is like paint, and it's I forget what the material is, but it'll coat the inside of the tank, and it'll take out small pinhole leaks. And you can now put gasoline in it and use it as a fuel tank again. Yep.
Really?
What you'll end up with old tanks like this is they're not large holes, they're pinholes, and they're very challenging to. If I pulled this tank out and stuck a flashlight in there, you'd probably see the pinholes. It's quite frustrating.
But we plan on restoring this tank.
This tank fits in here.
Yeah.
It's original to the vehicle,
Yeah.
and as best possible, we're going to try and restore the tank. We may do something where, in a tank like that, we may add an access panel on the side of it that's sealable, that we can get in as part of the restoration to get the work done inside. But it's nice to have the original stuff. It fits in there, and to make another custom tank, it just creates a lot more problems.
Yeah.
So that's the part, once we get down and we get the tank out, we'll see what kind of condition it's in and how well we can restore it. Then we make a decision then.
Hi, welcome back. We're making good progress on the M1917 quad and tank engine. We got it stripped completely apart. No disasters, luckily. Did need to source some new valves, which we actually managed to find. Monster valves. Just have to get them custom ground and shortened to the length that we need. But that was very good to be able to get new valves in the first place. I was a little worried about that. So it's all stripped out. Recut the valve seats to fit the new valves. Had to order the special tool to do it, but again, no big deal. So they're all roughed in. We'll finish them off just before assembly. Crankcase is over here. This is the upper crankcase here. Set the crank back in it and checked all the clearances with plastic gauge. And you can actually see the plastic gauge sitting in the saddles, and all clearances are fine. So that is a real big bonus. So no major reassembly problems at all. Cleaned out all the oil galleries. You want it as clean as possible because they don't have a very good filtering system. It's a screen, which by today's standards is like almost having none. But it's looking good. Cam bearings are all good. Over here we have a workbench full of these tiny little connecting rods. And again, we plastic gauge them. You can see in there. That's about 3 thou plastic gauge clearance, which is fine. So I'll just micro polish them, and did have to reshim the one. And here we have what we saw in an earlier time. These tubes feed oil from the bottom end to the top end. 2 of them were not in place. We found the remains of them in the bottom of the crankcase. So it's a good thing this never run too long, because it would have totally overheated the top end and seized the pistons on the connecting rods, I'm sure, at a certain point. So again, minor servicing. Got all new nuts for the rod caps. So everything will be nicely torqued down. Did have to change 2 shims on the number 3, which we found was a little bit loose, but that's how they did it back in the day. Tiny little shims. They even authorized using paper to make shims that thin. Yeah. So that on the one that was a little loose brought it right back into spec. So that's great. I'm so happy. Clean them, polish them a bit, and remake the tubes. And the crank is going out this afternoon to get Magnaflux for cracks. Hopefully it's good. It's a 3-main journal crank, which is very, again, old school and very crude, but it worked. And the journals are actually in pretty good shape. There's again the plastic gauge from being checked, and the clearances are good. So what you do is you get it checked for cracks, and if as long as it's good, and it better be, then all you do is you micro polish this with 2000 grit paper, and then clean it all out, clean out all the ports where the oil goes through, and it's ready to go back in. So hopefully it's good, and it'll be fine. And if it is good, then really all I need is them to cut down the oversized valves to fit the head, and I can start reassembling this beast, which is really cool. And I'm looking forward to that. That's always the fun part. So a lot of final cleaning, a lot of final little adjustments and stuff, but hopefully within a couple weeks from this date we can start the actual assembly. So we're way ahead. It's looking great.
Okay, so I'm Clarence Lane. I'm a volunteer here at the Canadian Tank Museum. I joined the Reserve Army in September of 1965, Royal Canadian Hussars in Montreal. I served in the Hussars from September of 65 until September of 1985, when I retired from the regiment as a Regimental Sergeant Major. The regiment itself started out with tanks, like you see behind me here. It's the first vehicle I jumped in at the tender age of 16, behind the tiller bars, out behind a base called the Canadian Forces Base Farnham. And for a 16-year-old kid, being able to wheel around in 38.5 tons of steel, it was a hell of a thrill. In the early 70s, the government decided that the regiment was no longer going to be an armored unit, decided it was going to be a reconnaissance unit, and the regiment switched from Sherman tanks to M8 Jeeps and M37 3/4 tons, where we did reconnaissance for a few years. Then as things progressed and they replaced the three-quarter, the regiment trained on Ferret scout cars, which the Canadian Tank Museum originated as the Ferret Club some 40-something years ago. We have a few models of the Ferrets here, which I trained on, and then they upgraded us to M113.5, which is a Lynx. It's a command and reconnaissance vehicle on tracks on the M113 chassis. Has a three-man crew. I was both a driver, a loader operator, and a crew commander, because as you progress through the ranks, you became you changed various positions. I left the regiment in 1985. I stayed in touch with the military as part of the executive of the Royal Canadian Armoured Car Association. I held various executive positions in the Armoured Car Association. I moved on in 2017 and became the president of the Armoured Car Association. The association originally was officers only, but they did start taking in non-commissioned officers, and I was the first non-commissioned officer to become the president of the Armoured Car Association. And that's how I got connected to the Canadian Tank Museum. I did various things within the museum. I am currently the treasurer of the museum, and I've also worked on at least one restoration program, which was the restoration of an M37 three-quarter ton vehicle. I'm now part of the 1918 project. In civilian life, I have a banking background, and I can say that the museum is healthy financially. We exercise due diligence, and anyone who donates to the museum knows that they're not just throwing their money into a black hole. We have here any number of vehicles from Canada, the UK, the US. We have German vehicles, and we pride ourselves in this is the place that history lives. Our goal is if it runs, we'll keep it running. If it doesn't run, we'll get it running. Anything else you'd like to know?
And yeah, tell me about the Sherman.
Okay, so again, as a 16-year-old kid being introduced to a Sherman, it was absolutely amazing. Okay, it holds a crew of 5. You have a driver, co-driver, a gunner, a loader operator, and a crew commander. During the time that the regiment still had Shermans, I got the opportunity to be a driver. I got an opportunity to be a loader operator. This particular Sherman is a post-war Sherman, which has dual diesel engines. These diesel engine Shermans only came out towards the end of the war and post-war. During the Second World War, Shermans were gas-powered. Now, if you wanted to look at another vehicle that I personally trained in, we do have a Ferret. Like we've got a Ferret over in the corner. Okay, so as my time in the regiment evolved, we moved from Jeep and three-quarter ton to training in Ferret scout cars. Now, again, being a recce unit, a Ferret scout car is not a tank. It is armored, but it'll only stop small arms fire. Ferrets were deployed in a number of places. This particular Ferret in the museum was one that served in 1956 during the Suez Crisis. The Canadian Prime Minister, Lester Pearson, won a Nobel Peace Prize for suggesting the peacekeeping force. Now, this would have been painted white because it was the Brits and were one of the combatants in the Suez War. Now, what's unique about this particular vehicle is that this particular vehicle goes as fast forward as it goes backwards. It's equipped with, as opposed to the transmission has a transfer case where when you change the transfer case in reverse, it has 5 speeds in reverse. And why? It's a reconnaissance vehicle. You want to get out of trouble just as faster than you got into trouble. So learning how to drive this can be a little bit tricky because of the way it goes as fast as it does backwards. Okay, so this is an M1 3.5 or a Lynx. It's normally referred to as a CAR, Command and Reconnaissance Vehicle. This vehicle is the M113 family. It weighs in at roughly 9 tons. Aluminum armor. It's good to stop small arms, but again, it's a reconnaissance vehicle. It's not a vehicle that you're going to engage in heavy armored interaction. It mounts a 50 caliber and on the crew commander's cupola, and it mounts a 7.62 millimeter on the loader operator's hatch. And the cupolas rotate so it can fire both forward and in the rear. The speed, this goes approximately 55 kilometers an hour. So again, it's fairly quick. Reconnaissance vehicle, got a low profile. I like the Lynx because of its armor, because it was speed, and it could go more places than the Ferret could go.
Oh, that can go more places than the Ferret?
Well, tracks.
Because of the tracks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like wheels can get bogged down.
Yeah.
Tracks, less so. Mm-hmm. Now, these versions were supposed to be amphibious, although I have never been in the water with any of these. But if you supposedly the freeboard, if this were to go into the water, the freeboard would only be about maybe 10 to 12 inches.
It's obvious where you're hitting everything.
Yes. You know, it's as I said, I've learned a lot here, and I rekindled some of my knowledge about vehicles I served on. I learned a lot about vehicles that were brought into service after I retired from the forces. It sort of gives me a solid connection. I mean, coming to the museum a couple times a week, now working on the Project 1918, and also contributing, using my civilian expertise to work in the administration of the museum. I think I'm making a positive contribution, and I'll continue as long as I can.
So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to copy this bracket right here. This is for holding a shovel in place. The D-handle shovel goes on there for the top of the handle. Then we have a strap to hold it in place here, and then the bottom of the shovel goes in here. So I need to copy this. I'm going to be putting it on the box, the munitions box. I'm going to try to copy this curvature and the mount on this one right here. Okay, so I'm going to trim this off with a pair of scissors, and then I'm going to apply it to a piece of metal that's already bent. Okay, so we're just going to go over here to where it's going to go on. We're going to match it up.
You just cut that off that can?
Yeah. It's going to go like that. This still might just be the prototype, but we'll see. But anyway, so it's I got to center this. This has to come right. It's got a bunch of different bends in here, so I might just bend it right in here. So here's our pattern coming off. That's going to be the prologue of every segment that's on YouTube. We're just making it up as it goes along.
That's good. Pretty good.
See, I think it's going to be a prototype. Here's how it fits. It's going to go right there.
What are you going to make the real one out of?
Maybe a little bit heavier gauge.
Yeah?
Just a little bit more of a thickness to it. But this is pretty good for a prototype.
So what's inside of it? We've got felt, yeah?
So each side has a housing, and here's your main hub. So inside here and here is felt, and that was what they used as like a seal to keep the grease in here in the housing area and not come out. So they used felt as basically a rubber seal.
And are we just taking it out right now, or is that already out?
Yeah, so some of this came out on its own, but eventually what we'll do is we're going to refelt all these. and strip them all out and redo them. It's just, we have to figure out how we're going to repair this piece here to keep it solid and square.
Okay.
So I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's going to take some thinking on how to do it and do it right.
That's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so this is the Varsol bath. Low tech for a high tech solution. We use it to clean up basic components that are covered in grease and oil. Right now I've got one of the back drives out of the Nash. Heavily greased, heavily lubricated over the years. Just trying to get the old redundant grease off. This is actually Varsol. This is a self-contained unit. We've got a tank at the bottom, which is the sump. It's a small pump on the side and just keeps bringing it up. Varsol breaks down oil, grease, any type of crap or corruption that's on the unit itself. And it's a very laborious process. It doesn't happen instantaneously. That's why we take a look in here. We've got a nozzle, a jet nozzle, for hitting it with high volume. Then we've also got an abrasive brush. And all I'm doing on these disc plates is I'm trying to clean off any of the old grease. I'm trying to take it back in grease and oil.
Okay, so what we're working on here today is drive gears for the rear axle. As I explained previously, the hubs on the wheels have a ring gear in them, and what drives the truck, drives the wheels, is this gear right here. And it engages with the ring gear inside the hub, and then that's what drives the truck, drives the wheels.
Is it an easy clean? Is there any challenges?
Yeah, we've got pretty easy to clean up. Old grease, of course. We've got one tapered roller bearing that's broken. You can see it here. So we're going to have to take that and see if we can get a replacement. We'll go down to a local bearing shop. Usually you can get them. Replacement tapered roller bearings. So
You just replace one of the bearings or the whole thing?
the whole thing.
Okay.
We'll replace the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's a felt seal that helps to seal the whole assembly. Of course, you can see that felt seal is in bad shape, so that'll get replaced. And that fits into the groove in this cup here. So we'll buy some new felt, cut up new felt seals and put them in there, so they're nice and fresh. And then, of course, this all has to be sandblasted and the paint got off it. And so it's just a lot of cleaning and seeing what needs to be repaired and what doesn't.
On the 4th of August 1914, the United Kingdom declared war on Germany after its invasion of Belgium. By default, Canada, as one of its self-governing dominions, was automatically now a part of the war. Over the course of the conflict, 619,636 Canadians would serve in uniform, of whom 59,544 would make the ultimate sacrifice. Among the many new technologies introduced in this conflict were motorized vehicles, which were gradually taking over from horses who were suffering horrific casualties on the Western Front. Among those motor vehicles was the Jeffrey Quad, but not in the form you might necessarily expect. This is the story of its service as an armored car in the Canadian Expeditionary Force. While combat was still mobile in the first few months, several Canadian philanthropists wanted to raise their own units to contribute to the Canadian Expeditionary Force. One of these philanthropists was Sir John Craig Eaton, the president of the T. Eaton Company, a department store based in Toronto. He gave $100,000 to raise the Eaton machine gun battery and equip it with 15 Jeffrey Model 4017 armored cars, which were actually made in Canada. Under license from the Thomas B. Jeffrey Company, the Canada Cycle and Motor Company, based in Toronto, actually made 40 Jeffrey Quad Armoured Cars under the Russell mark. These were mostly what you'd expect in the sense of an armoured car based on a quad chassis. It's got a central machine gun turret with a Colt M1895 potato digger machine gun, a few pistol ports all around for engaging infantry at close range, a 40 horsepower Buda HU engine, and a total weight of approximately 7 tons, all with the same advantages of the four-wheel drive four-wheel steering, and four-wheel braking of the typical Jeffrey Quad design. On the 12th of July 1916, the Eton machine gun battery is transferred west to Poperinghe, where it is actually made part of the 1st Canadian Motor Machine Gun Brigade under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Brutinel. Brutinel had actually been a French army officer before the war, and he had moved to Canada, where he had pioneered the use of armored cars early in the conflict. Alongside their new comrades in charge of E Battery of the brigade is a certain Frederick Franklin Worthington. We'll come back to him later in this series. Later that year, on the 15th of September 1916, the 1st Canadian Motor Machine Gun Brigade is present in the Courcelette sector when tanks are deployed for the first time in history. The following year, on the 9th to the 12th of April 1917, they're also fighting alongside all their Canadian Corps comrades in the Vimy sector, and later that year at the Battle of Passchendaele as well, where several of their NCOs are decorated for gallant conduct. While all this is going on, in July 1917, the India office of the British government expresses interest in buying up those 40 Jeffrey Quads that are still languishing away in Bulford Camp. They buy them all out and start the process of shipping them to India. 4 of them go down with their supply ship when it is torpedoed and sunk in the Mediterranean Sea. Another 16 make it successfully to India, and the remaining 20 are sent to Ireland instead to fight against the Irish Republican Army. We'll cover their service on the northwest frontier on the Mesopotamian front in a future episode. Another organizational change comes along on the 8th of June 1918, when the original Eton machine gun battery is transferred to the 2nd Canadian Motor Machine Gun Brigade and transferred to Ohain in the Lens-Arras sector of the Western Front. A couple months later, on the 8th of August 1918, mobile warfare resumes when the 100 Days Offensive begins, which starts off with a whopping 20-kilometer advance in the first 3 days. Ultimately, the Canadian Corps finishes out the war around the Mons sector in Belgium on the 11th of November 1918, near where the British and German armies had first made contact with each other in 1914. During this huge operation, suddenly now armored cars have a role to play again, and the 1st and 2nd Canadian Motor Machine Gun Brigades are grouped together under the Canadian Independent Force, which is also known as Brutinel's Brigade after their original commander. This is a sign of things to come in warfare in terms of armored cars working in concert with artillery, tanks, infantry, and aircraft in a truly combined arms fashion to break a stalemate and push the enemy back from their defenses. It's worth pointing out, though, that during the 100 Days Offensive, the autocar armored car had become the primary vehicle of Brutinel's brigade, with their Jeffrey Quads now having been long gone. For their part, sadly, in the Eton machine gun battery, 315 Eton employees were killed in action over the course of the war, with the company thankfully saving their jobs for when the survivors would return. Unmarried men were fortunate to receive still half of their salary while they were away, with married men actually receiving their full salary along top of their pay for serving in the conflict. Thank you very much for watching today's episode of Project 1918. If you're enjoying this series, please consider joining the museum as a supporter on Patreon and following us on social media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. The Canadian Tank Museum is expanding and it needs your help to make it happen. Please head to our website at tankmuseum.ca to hear about our capital expansion campaign to build a brand new facility and contribute your own donation towards our goal. Thank you very much for your support.